Well, it's been a pretty rough weekend for Solana as its price is now around $18.30 or down about 5% in the last 24 hours. And so, of course, in today's video, we're going to talk about exactly what is going on with Solana and what I am doing as a result of it in order to, of course, stay as prepared as possible. So with that said, we're not going to waste any more time at all, and let's get straight into today's video. Now, what we can see here again is that Solana's price is taking a pretty gnarly beating. Now, as of now, we can see that the price has now fallen from what was $19 and about 43 cents down about roughly 5.5% to currently $18.37, but at one point as low as $18. Now, before we do get into the technical analysis of today's video, we're going to talk about exactly why this is happening and why, people are starting to sell off their Solana at this given point. Well, what we can see here is that we did get news last week that an FTX wallet shifts $10 million in crypto, sparking fear of token dumps to come. Now, of course, as many of you do remember, FTX did crash last year, which did lead Solana's price to get absolutely butchered, and the reason being is because FTX, of course, held a pretty substantial portion of Solana's total token supply, upwards of what I believe to be 11% at its peak. Now, as a result of this, of course, yes, things did get ugly for Solana. People started to speculate that FTX was going to start dumping all of their tokens and getting rid of all of their Solana, and all that Solana was going to hit the open market and force its price down because the supply was going to go up and the demand is not high. I mean, it was crazy, right? It was absolutely crazy. And we figured that this was going to happen. When that happened, even once Solana's price did recover from that, initial FTX crash, I said that there would be moments just like this in which we get these worries about FTX because this situation will be extended for a couple years and Solana's going to take, immediate effect as a result of that. I said that if it's good FTX news, Solana's probably going to do well. But if it's bad FTX news, if it's news about FTX selling or things of that nature, well, then likelihood is we were going to see that Solana's price was going to sell off as well. Now, let's talk about what is happening with this FTX wallet shift and why people are speculating that it could, of course, mean that Solana's price is going to fall, and they're starting to try to sell to get ahead of that. So as we can see here, a wallet owned by bankrupt crypto exchange FTX has moved $10 million worth of digital assets from the Solana network to Ethereum, sparking concerns it could be the beginning of a series of token dumps amid the exchange's bankruptcy proceedings. According to data from the blockchain analytics platform Arkham Intelligence, the FTX wallet has transferred $6.3 million worth of ETH since August 31st, along with more than $4 million in altcoins. Some of these include the FTX token itself, some Uniswap, some HXRO, some SushiSwap, and some, of course, Frontier token, which were all moved to another FTX wallet by the way of the Wormhole Bridge. Now, there actually wasn't any Solana move. Solana really even wasn't a part of this, but obviously the main concern here is that if they are beginning the selling process, then Solana will likely become a part of this at some given point. Now, some people, as a result of this, have now started to sell off their Solana, and their rationalization, from what I can gather from crypto Twitter, is, well, the likelihood is, Solana's going to start to get sold off. They have what I believe to be about $200 million worth of Solana in their holdings, and so, of course, that's going to force this price all the way down to what could be possibly $4, and they're going to buy back at that given point. Now, although I do understand the idea there, what I will say is a couple things. First and foremost, they're not giving us implication that they're selling Solana just yet, meaning that this big grand sell-off probably isn't happening just yet. Another thing that you have to understand is they can't sell their last pieces of Solana until 2028, which is about 4 years from now, 4 years and a couple months, right? They have a vesting schedule basically of how they can sell this throughout their court proceedings if they, go through the full court proceeding. Now, say a bull market comes back around, some reason FTX can relaunch, they may never sell the Solana. But if they do continue down the path that they're on right now, the likelihood is they wouldn't be able to sell their last bits of Solana until 2028. So if you're okay with waiting till 2028 to see if that massive sell-off does happen, sure, go ahead, be my guest. But personally, I'm not buying it, and I do believe that this is just a big part of the news. Now, what I will say is that the charts themselves have painted this picture, and it's always interesting, right, to see how these charts do paint these pictures prior to the news dropping. Because in the last video, which is about 2 weeks ago, I told you guys I'm going to just take a break from posting about Solana until this move happens. I said that, look, we just got rejected off of this key level, we came back up to it, and we got rejected off of this one again. There's a very high likelihood that we are on our way back to this ascending trend line, which also correlates with this Fibonacci retracement zone, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Solana's price fall to about $17. And as you can see here, that is exactly what happened. The charts were painting this picture well before this FTX news started to happen. I told you all that in these times in which we get these ascending channels and these ascending levels of support like this, what often happens is that you lose that support, you fall out of that thing, and you start trying to backtest some of these previous points of support so that you can look for the more macro move to the upside upside. I said that this is the most likely scenario for Solana at this given point, especially if we do see the loss of this support here. But one way or another, we just needed to be careful and cautious because you never know what can spark a sell-off like the one, well, we are seeing right now. And so my opinion still does stand. I think that there is a pretty significant chance that $15.64 to $18.24, or this Fibonacci retracement zone here, could hold as support. Whether we get down to this trend line here, or maybe we break the trend line, say something along these lines, we hit the 786 level and then re-enter the trend line looking for another move to the upside. Whether it's one of these moves, I do believe that there's a decent chance that this Fibonacci level could hold as some support. But at the end of the day, typically speaking, more often than not, you will see Solana's price in this example lose this key level of support and then start looking to retest the previous point of support, which looks like $12.86 to about $13 roughly. And so with that in mind, all this hoorah and shasha that's going on with FTX, I'm really not all that concerned about it. That is what it is. We cannot control that. But what we can control is how we react to these charts. And all I'm doing at this given point is simply just waiting to see how Solana interacts with this ascending level of support. And I'm not doing much else until we see that happens. Of course, the most of this market is rather boring. There's really just not that much going on. Of course, many of you did see my post that I made on the community post probably 2-3 days ago now, basically saying if I made a YouTube channel that was all about just fun stuff, just in regards of crypto pre-sales and meme coins and stuff like that, would you watch it? Because in this part of the market right now, it's just boring, and we're all looking for that little fix of something exciting going on. One thing that I have been doing, of course, you guys probably do know him. A buddy of mine, Krypton Calls Investing, a guy named Sean, he has been doing his own token. The Superman token is based off of NFTs, investing them and using them to redistribute back into the token itself. It's actually a pretty damn good project. They've been raising a good bit of money. They have a lot of marketing coming along the way. I have been kind of being a part of this community, watching this thing play out. And tokens like these are the ones that do excite me. I have invested into them, and I am kind of a part of the overall community, so I have thought it'd been fun, and it's been a good way to pass some time recently. And so let's talk about it just a little bit here. Of course, do understand I do have a vested interest in this project. I do have my own personal benefits from talking about it on my channel, so make sure that you do your own research. But in terms of what they do, just a quick little overview of what they have going on. Again, this is a token that is based around the Superman theme, and of course they do base it mostly off of NFTs. Now, their whole idea here was basically to say, listen, most NFTs are useless, nothing really happens with them, and they don't have much of a use case. Let's create NFTs that have a use case and take that use case and inject it back into a token, which I believe is the correct way to go about it. Now, what's cool about it though is that they have their NFTs and they have multi-use. There's some multi-use NFTs. First of all, they're going to use the NFTs to raise money, as many projects do. They then use that money as the marketing for their token itself or for other things that need to happen in order to develop the project. Another thing is that if you do have the NFTs, you get a couple things, such as the passive income that we will go over in a second. You will get $750 if you do mint a golden NFT, which is pretty cool. They have some limited edition NFTs you can also sell that'll be more valuable, and you get access to a private call channel in a private room that does give you more access to more information and more possible opportunities. Now, in terms of the token pre-sale boost, of course, depending on how many NFTs you own, you can get a boost on that pre-sale also. Again, just another thing. But the main thing was really exciting about the NFTs that I found interesting, that I wanted to be a part of, was the fact that they do give you access to their Pulse AI trading. Now, to make it short and sweet, let's go down here and let's just kind of explain what Pulse is really quickly. Pulse is a product developed by VFX Worldwide. It uses advanced AI algorithmic trading indicators in tandem with two large teams of competing traders. These traders have developed numerous competing strategies to maximize returns for Pulse account owners. So basically what happened is that the Superman project went and invested in some of these Pulse accounts. And when you purchase NFTs, you then get access to the returns that come from these Pulse accounts. So of course, as they do good and they do start to make these daily returns from the trading, then of course you are then rewarded in passive income, and of course your NFTs become more and more valuable. And what happens is that if you are part of the NFTs and if you are making that passive income, there are other options such as staking and then using that money for other things such as the token. It's a very, very awesome ecosystem, right? Now I am going to do another follow-up thing on this pretty soon here, maybe even a full video if you guys are interested, just because I do think that it is pretty interesting, and I think they're taking a unique approach. They've raised, I think like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 already, which is absolutely phenomenal, and so they are doing very well there. So it is one to check out, and I do believe they have some potential, so make sure you go check them out down below. And do remember, I do have money invested into the project myself, and so I do have personal interest here again, so make sure you do your own research. But with that said, guys, that is just a good example of what I am doing in these times in which something like Solana is just not doing much. As I mentioned before, these FTX talks and shit, they don't really worry me, they don't bother me, they don't really scare me, because at the end of the day, we can't control what FTX does. But what we can do, in my personal opinion, is manage how we get prepared for any moves that are possible. And so personally, at this given point, I am just dollar cost averaging a bit. I buy a little Solana here, I buy a little Solana there, just so that I can keep getting my feet wet, keep lowering my dollar cost average. My dollar cost average is now around $20, which is crazy because it was up to $70 at one point. So I am just slowly lowering it, but I am aware that there is a possibility that this does continue even further down, and well, we will of course have to address that when the time does come. And of course, I will update you as that does happen, as I am back to now posting 3 or 4 times every single week. So I hope you guys are looking forward to it, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.